Hey, Mike Mutzel, MikeMutzelLeadership.com. Again, I really want to express my thanks and my gratitude for those of you that are following along with this series of tips, and we've got a lot more to go, on things that leaders need to implement, in my opinion, sooner rather than later. And this is tip number 7. And I want to talk about consistency, but really what we're doing is we're following up on our last tip, number 6, which was trust, and the fact that employees come to the workplace with an inherent lack of trust. And then oftentimes they're looking for inconsistencies in your leadership style that reaffirm their opinion that I knew I couldn't trust these folks to begin with. And you know, this trust thing is huge, and you've got to counteract that with consistency. And again, this goes back to trust. This and all the other tips are available on the website. If you want to go to MikeMutzelLeadership.com, just go on there and click the free ebooks and put in your name, and you'll get the video tips ebook all free on me. But I'm going to say some things to you here about consistency that might surprise you from my employee interviews and from the employee's perspective. You know, you can read 3 or 4 leadership books and go to 4 or 5 workshops and come back as Captain Empathy, and now you're in a meeting and you're smiling and you're asking questions and you're listening and you're empathetic, and the employees are going, man, there's been a change here, maybe a change for the better. And then what happens is we go a month and we don't meet the numbers, or there's a big issue within the organization. And immediately leaders oftentimes revert back to the autocratic style, put in parentheses, that means cut people or services, right? And now you've destroyed your opportunity to build trust forever. So consistency is huge. You know, and at the risk of going against almost everything that I teach and I preach and I coach, you know, if you're going to be a jerk, because at least people understand what they're getting. And the inconsistency will just turn them off. They'll be disengaged. You'll have issues with engagement. You'll have issues with retention, and so on and so forth. Next thing I want to say to you is really pushing your limits a little bit here, right? I want to let you know that consistency goes throughout the organization. If you're a manager that talks about the team activities and working together as a team in your meetings, right? I'm going to ask you a question. Do we have verbiage like that in our job description? When we hired the people, did we put those elements in there? If our culture is to service people inside and outside the organization, provide unparalleled service, is that in our job description, or is that something you just talk about at the annual meeting? Because from the perspective of the employees, they see this as inconsistent. And now I'm going to push you even farther. What about compensation? If you're about teamwork and providing service, is that included in an hourly folks' compensation package? More often than not. And I can't tell you, on numerous occasions, I've had mid-level managers tell me that my company is hypocrites. They talk about service, but they pay on the bottom line in profitability. Now, listen, I'm an old corporate MBA. Look at all this gray hair, man. I believe in paying on the profitability and sharing that with the employees. But I also want to suggest that to be consistent, we've got to positively reinforce some of these soft skill things too. So if you were to take $100 a quarter for every employee on your team and suggest that out of this $100, how well we provide service, how well we live our culture, how well we fulfill the purpose of our organization to help folks internally and externally, and once a quarter we're going to give you a percentage of that $100 on how we did on the soft skills. Now employees see that as consistent. And I'll tell you something else that'll surprise you. Organizations where we've done this, it's not so much the dollar amount being $1,000 or $2,000, but $100, maybe $200 will do the trick. You know, and if you talk about team, then let's make sure that we're compensating and rewarding on team. And that's another issue. I have a problem with things like Employee of the Month. You know, Employee of the Month was a great program decades ago. But if you talk about team activities and then put a plaque on the wall rewarding one employee who had to have a team to make them successful, then what have you done? You've reinforced the lack of trust with the inconsistencies. So be committed. Be committed to building trust through consistency with purpose, culture, job descriptions, compensation plans, even the interview process. Let's establish that consistency and be committed to it, and you'll find higher engagement and therefore higher productivity. This is Mike Mutzel, MikeMutzelLeadership.com. Visit our site, get the free ebook. If you're looking at having workshops or keynotes for your organization or association, all our information is there too. This is Mike Mutzel. Thank you so much, man. Until next time.